It's Women's History Month. We are daughters, some of us are mothers. We are all sisters. Through joy and pain, the highs and lows, to shattered glass ceilings and heights unknown, let's celebrate us. At Southwest Tennessee Community College, today and every day, we celebrate you.
You are enough.
You are worth it.
You are capable.
You can do it.
You are valued.
You are loved.
You are worth your time.
You are more than your past. You are worth your forgiveness.
You are the solution.
You are history.
You are your ancestors' wildest dream.
You are a queen.
You matter.
Trailblazing, glass shattering, boundary breaking, history making. That is who we are as women. Virginia Woolf is quoted as saying, "For most of history, Anonymous was a woman." Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this Women's History Month Making Her Story panel, where we're actually putting names and faces to some of those local trailblazers who have made history in their own respective rights. I hope that you enjoyed the video featuring faculty and staff from across our college affirming the worth of every woman. We are honored to have an esteemed group of local leaders here today to share their stories of success and the lessons they learned along the way. They will discuss their personal journeys, leadership style, gender barriers, entrepreneurship, and more. To our students in attendance, I hope you leave this event informed and, more importantly, inspired to boldly move forward in your academic journey. Dream bigger than ever before and achieve more than you could have ever imagined. I want to thank the event coordinator, Tamara Boylan, for her outstanding work in making today's celebration of women a reality. Tamara, you have done a fantastic job. And I now have the privilege of introducing today's panel moderator. She is a St. Louis native who has spent her entire career in higher education, steadily ascending through the ranks from the classroom and into administration to where she now serves as the first woman to lead Southwest Tennessee Community College. She is our president, Dr. Tracy D Hall. Since joining Southwest as president in the summer of 2015, Dr. Hall has inspired and steered Southwest's journey of transformation. A talented and courageous administrator, she listened, envisioned, and led the college to higher enrollment, smaller achievement gaps, improved graduation and retention rates, and a student-centered culture that has garnered local, regional, and national recognition. Just recently, Southwest was awarded the coveted Bellwether Award for planning, governance, and finance. This national recognition is the result of our Achieving the Dream work to transform the student experience that also garnered us ATD Leader College status just last year. Dr. Hall is now leading us through our pandemic response, a response that has garnered praise from local government agencies, faculty, and students. And thanks to her phenomenal leadership, Southwest is well positioned for what's next as we all work together to beat COVID-19 and fully return to campus operations. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you today's moderator and our fearless leader, Dr. Tracy D Hall.
Thank you, Vice President Faulkner, for that kind introduction. I am very excited to be here today to close out Women's History Month with what I know will be an insightful conversation with four esteemed and distinguished Memphis women who will focus on the topic of leadership and success. The topic of women and leadership is perhaps even more relevant today as the country welcomes Kamala Harris, our first woman and woman of color, as Vice President of the United States of America. Although we are virtual, the format will be as interactive as possible. While I do have questions prepared for the panelists, the goal is to be more conversational. You, the audience, will also be a part of the conversation and are encouraged to submit your questions and comments via the chat. Today's theme is local legends making her story. So let me introduce you to this fascinating panel of legends who will be conversing with us today. We are honored to have with us the Honorable Ramesh Hackberry, Senator representing District 29 in the Tennessee General Assembly. Since we can see each other, let's give her a round of applause. Next, we have Ms. Beth Wall Flanagan, Public Policy Consultant for Flanagan Strategies and a registered lobbyist for several clients, including Neighborhood Preservation, Inc. and Ag Launch. Let's welcome Ms. Flanagan. Yeah, round of applause, interaction. Next, we have Dr. Lasanya Harris Hall, Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Shelby County Government and the newly appointed Interim Director of the Shelby County Health Department. Round of applause for Dr. Hall. And last but certainly not least, Ms. Tawanda Todd Pirtle, co-owner and general manager of the legendary Jack Pirtle's Chicken and founder and owner of Feeling Memphis, a new Memphis-themed lifestyle store located in downtown Memphis. Let's please have a round of applause for Ms. Pirtle and all of our wonderful esteemed guests today. Welcome, ladies, to Southwest. We are truly honored to have you with us today. And as panelists, even though you're virtual, I want you to know that we have a really robust crowd here today. We have in our virtual audience are students, faculty, staff, and community members. And while they can read your bios, which are posted in the chat, I think that they will benefit from hearing in your own words a brief synopsis of your personal journey to your current leadership roles. And so if we can begin with, let's go with Dr. Hall. Dr. Hall, can you begin sharing with us a little bit about your journey?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much to Dr. Tracy Hall and Dr. Faulkner and Ms. Boylan, who have really done an outstanding job. I am so excited to be a part of this panel. To answer your question, Dr. Hall, my personal journey has been one of defiance. I am a native Mississippian. I'm an African-American woman born to, at the time, a divorcee. And so my lifestyle and my professional journey has been one that has defied all stereotypes that you usually see about Black women in Mississippi. I was supposed to get pregnant early. I was supposed to not pursue an education. I was not supposed to want to leave Mississippi. My professional journey has been one that said, I can succeed. And so I started out at 16 working at Sears Roebuck and Company. And I will tell you that some of those same principles that I learned, treating people with respect and dignity, I still hold dear in my professional journey. I started at Jackson State University, finishing up there, and just kept persisting. I just refused to allow what society dictated over my life to win. And so I know the other panelists will want to speak. I don't want to hog all the time, but I will say that in a nutshell, my life has been defined and my success has been defined by defying what society has dictated for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Defiance, defying the odds, defying the stereotypes. Thank you so much, Dr. Hall. I appreciate hearing a little bit about your story. Let's move on to Ms. Flanagan. Ms. Flanagan, tell us about your story.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me here. And I'm glad to know my audio is working. I think that was the question. And I would say that Dr. Hall, you do it, well, you may be defiant, but you do it with grace. It's a joy to watch. So really glad to know you're in the position that you're in today, which we're now ahead of everyone in Tennessee on giving vaccines. If y'all don't know that, yes. Big handout, big shout out to them. I started out as a U of M grad, and I took the LSAT and fully anticipated that I would go to law school, got accepted, and chose at the very last minute not to do that. I ended up in commercial real estate a little bit by accident. It is, at the time, it was very much a male-dominated position. There were no females in meetings I went to, which meant there was no line for the bathroom, which was great, but there was no one. There were no real mentors in the female area for me. I had worked for an individual owner and had made a list of where I wanted to go in my next step, what was going to be the next big career move for me. And I listed, I think it was 4 different big commercial realtors in Memphis, real estate guys. And, one of them approached me before I could interview them and figure out how to get in the door. So that was great. From that position, I realized that I really wanted to work on what became the redevelopment of our medical district. So I actually worked for Southwest, was one of our stakeholders when I was there, and did that for 12 years. As part of that, you end up really learning a lot about yourself. And I had a former husband who challenged me to create my personal mission. And, when you do these kind of visual roles where people see you in the community, you begin to get asked to do volunteer work. And he was very encouraging to say, let that personal mission guide what volunteer roles you serve in. So I did that. I did a lot of volunteer work with the Neighborhood Christian Center. I'm still volunteering with TCAP Memphis, Rotary, Neighborhood Preservation Inc., and Memphis MA was my fun one. Thought you should have a fun group that you serve with. I ended up chairing the lobbying organization as a volunteer for all the charter schools in the state of Tennessee at the very beginning of the charter school movement. So got interested in politics and lobbying, and just kind of from all of the roles that I had, I ended up rolling off the Neighborhood Preservation Board and the Memphis MA Board to be their lobbyist. So I am now a contract lobbyist. I have other clients as well. I don't lobby for Memphis MA any longer, but still enjoy the festival when they have it. And all of those clients are results of longstanding relationships in the community. So that's kind of my story and how I got here. And if you have noticed, I am sitting in one of the lovely legislators' offices right under Senator Hackberry. She's a floor above me.
I see. Wonderful, wonderful. Personal mission, knowing what your goals are, knowing what you stand for. Wonderful, wonderful story. Wonderful story, Ms. Flanagan. I appreciate that. Let's move on. Senator, you mentioned Senator Hackberry. Let's hear from you.
Listen, I am so happy to be here with you all. I love the Dr. Halls. I love Beth. I love Tawanda. She's just great people, great women, and what a great way to end Women's History Month. My journey to elected office, I guess, I had a heart and a passion to serve. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And fortunately, I had a really good mentor, State Representative Barbara Cooper, who is just a force to be reckoned with, even at the tender age of 91. She's kicking all sorts of butt. And may we all be that spry and dedicated in that age. I ran for office. There were 7 or 8 of us running. It was a crazy race. I won by 100 votes. So definitely, if you don't believe your vote counts, it does. Always keep that in mind. And then after serving 5 years in the House, I decided to run for the Senate. And my running joke that year was, I'll either be going to the Senate or I'll be going to the House, because I will no longer be a member of the House. But fortunately, I won, and I've been able to focus on 3 big things, which is criminal justice reform, building strong public schools, and economic development. And I'll keep doing it until the folks send me home or I no longer get joy from it. So that's kind of been my journey, my pathway. I just, I'll say this, the power of a great mentor really can help move you along. Sometimes you have things and dreams in your heart, you just don't know how to get there. And that's why it's important that we as women as well reach back and reach down to lift as we climb.
Absolutely. Pay it forward. And I think if people think that they've gotten anywhere alone, they're not being honest with themselves or others. Thank you, Senator. And last but not least, Ms. Purtle, your story.
Well, good morning. The song that was on here before, Super Women, absolutely beautiful this morning, because I came on just a little bit earlier to listen to that. Got all wrapped up in it, really. But I am a product of the rural Mississippi area. So was raised in a country grocery store from the time I was born up until I left home at 18 or 16. I went to college for MSCW. It was MSCW at the time. And then it went on to be Mississippi College for Women or Mississippi University for Women. And only went 1 year down there and came back home and went to work. And I have been working ever since then. I am a person that I just love people. I've loved people since I was a little bitty girl. And my father, I always went with my father all the time. And I'm very fortunate that I was raised by two individuals that truly knew what the meaning of being a good human being was. They taught us to work hard, go after what you want, and that's what I've done. So in my lifetime, I opened the first Radio Shack in this area when I was 18 years old. Done that, worked as a receptionist, knew Mr. Sam Cecil with Cecil's here in Memphis. That was the old grocery store here. So I got to meet a lot of people in that journey. Went on to work for John Deere Company, then to newspaper life. I was a newspaper salesperson, moved on up into general manager to a publisher with a company that had 45 newspapers, and I helped train sales staffs throughout the country and had my own paper at the time. Come out of that, went into real estate, and then I was dating my husband at all these times. So we dated for around 13 years, got married, and then I'm into the Jack Purtle business. But Jack Purtle's was always my favorite chicken before I ever met my husband. So that was kind of interesting to be there. So I think that's been an honor in my life. One thing is I have the most wonderful husband in the whole Memphis area. So all you guys out there that are listening, you need to listen to that one and take lessons from this guy, because he's the good guy that respects women. And so been in Purtle's, and then in October of 2020, I opened up another little store downtown Memphis called Feeling Memphis, Live It, Love It. And it's just a lifestyle store. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. And it just kind of fell in my lap. The place came open, and we started in June and opened, and it's been wonderful, and we've enjoyed that. So I'm just a lucky person. I'm not a lucky person. I'm lucky because I have really, really good friends. I have a team of employees, and I was raised by parents that taught me the right way and the wrong way. So happy to be here, guys.
Wonderful, wonderful. So happy to have you here. I really love stories and storytelling. I think you can learn a lot. There are a lot of leadership books, and it'll talk about various theories, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But really, when you hear about women's stories, you hear about your journeys, I think that people can really learn a lot. And if we ended this panel right now, there's already been some takeaways. We've heard from Dr. Hall and defying stereotypes, defying the odds. Ms. Flanagan talking about a personal mission, importance of knowing who you are and your personal mission, and Senator Hackberry talking about the importance of mentorship, that we don't get anywhere alone. And then Ms. Purtle, just the lessons of your family, being a good human being. I mean, that's a word right there. We've already had a message already. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story. And I'm wondering, Dr. Hall and Ms. Purtle, can you talk about a little bit more when you say that you're being a good human being, and your relationships, and Dr. Hall with the whole defying stereotypes and defying odds. How have those experiences shaped you as a woman, as a leader? We all bring something to the table with us. How have those experiences shaped you in your leadership? And let's start with you, Ms. Purtle. Then we go to Dr. Hall.
I think for me, it's like I said, I truly love people, and I love the camaraderie of talking back and forth and learning from each other and respecting each other. And I feel like we as women, I'm a very strong woman in many ways, and that has helped me through my plan as far as in life, and it's helped me succeed in life in that. But as far as my team of ladies, that at Jack Purtle's, we have 6 stores open. We closed 2 in the pandemic, and of the 6 stores, 5 stores have managers, women managers, and women. Women have always been the leaders, whether they got the credit for it or not. They were the leaders in the background. We may have not gotten the pay for it, but we were still the leaders in the background. So what I'm thankful for now is I feel like we're about 50-60% there. I still feel like we have a long way to go for women to be on the same equal playing field as a man doing the same job. I think a woman can work circles around a man. I'm sorry, guys, but that's just the way I feel about it. In saying that, everybody, no matter what role that you're in, whether you're the president of the college or you're the senator of the state of Tennessee, or you're me that has a little store down on South Main or a couple little chicken stores, we all have just an equal playing field. Every one of us have something to give to each other. And I think that is what makes us, if we do that and we join together, I think we're all unstoppable. Thank God we've got a new vice president there, and it just gives me chills today to know that women are now getting the credit and moving up the ladder the way they deserve, and everybody's just treated equal. Like I said, just be a good human being, be kind. This is not hard to do. It's a very simple thing, and it's really easy to have one pay structure that is the pay structure for all people, not just one person. My company has had it. I've always worked for companies that have had it, and it's just not complicated.
Yes, that's right. Being just a decent person. I mean, that it seems so simple. Unfortunately, we don't see that all of the time, but it is a very good lesson to know and to learn. Um, Thank you, Ms. Purtle. Dr. Hall, and you talked about defying the odds and defying stereotypes. How has that shaped you?
This is a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, my mom was divorced when I was 5. And so I grew up in a house full of women. It was my grandmother, my mother, me, and my sister. And there was nothing that we did not do. We worked on cars. We farmed cows. We owned cows. So as I grew up, I saw my mother and my grandmother, women working, doing hard work and providing for their families. And as it has shaped my ability as a woman, and now as a mother of 2 young adult daughters, I never forgot the struggle. I never forgot the hard work. I've never forgotten the work ethic that my mother and my grandmother instilled in me. As a leader, I never forget that everyone is going through their own, struggle, their own space. And so as a servant leader, I've always tried to be empathetic. I've always tried to empower other young women. That is a true passion of mine. And I've always saw myself as a connector. So I'm always trying to connect people as they're trying to succeed and excel in their lives. It's been my personal mission just to keep some of those hardcore values that were instilled in me when I was a little girl in Mississippi. And I'm glad me and Miss Purtle are on this same piece because we're Mississippi girls. But I think when you're homegrown and it's in you, you have no choice but to make sure that others have opportunities. And so I've always put that first in my leadership abilities. And it matters not women or men. I've tried to help everyone who I've been able to work with, but I do have a special fondness for women. So as a woman, just making sure we reach back and we share these lessons like we're doing today. But as a leader, being able to empathize with those that we serve and those that we lead to ensure that they have every opportunity afforded to them.
That's wonderful. What I like about this part of the conversation is that both of you went back to childhood. You talked about being taught to be a good person, a good human being, Ms. Purtle, and Dr. Hall, you're talking about the lessons you learned from your mother and childhood. And so that makes me think about as we are growing and sometimes in our younger years, we think we know it all and we think we have all the answers. So I'm wondering, Senator and Ms. Flanagan, when you're reflecting on your journey and what you know, what advice or guidance or message would you give to your teenage self?
That's a great question. My teenage self was perfect. What are you talking about?
Well, I did all those other things you didn't do then.
Right. Yep. but for serious, I was a bit of a scaredy cat. But I would tell my teenage self, like, keep moving forward, right? Like everything that your mom, which I mean, that would sound like I didn't listen to what she said, and I did. Which my mother always told me, work hard, play hard, and that I think is something that I have truly try to live, because if you want to be able to do the things you want to do and have the fun and travel and everything else, you gotta put in the work. Treat people with kindness and respect and love always. I think that's something that she instilled in me. But I would tell my teenage self, just keep moving forward, right? Like every part of your journey is super fun, and just be able to embrace it, ride the waves as you go through it, and just know that everything that you're dreaming and that you want, you just got to keep working hard for, because you'll get there. I don't know. I mean, I guess my teenage self didn't really doubt it. Like I felt like, I mean, I guess because I was raised by, strong parents who said, good grades, that's what you got to do. And my mother always said, if you get good grades, you can do whatever you want to do. Like to the point where Ramina and I would be able to check ourselves out of school if we wanted to. And she would be like, yeah, that's cool. Like if we got good grades, that was her thing. She's like, you can have designer clothes, you can have your car, you can do whatever you want to do, but the minute your grades slip, it's that's got to go away. And then also I would tell my teenage self, like, all the hard work you're putting in is going to be worth it, right? Like working at the family business on Saturdays, working there during the summer, studying hard. You're going to be able to go to the college you want to go to, and you're going to love it. You're going to meet great people in every step, and you'll be friends with them all the way through. So that's what I would say. Like it's going to be worth it, and don't regret it, don't doubt it, don't doubt yourself, because in the end, you will have the life that you've wanted to create for yourself.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful lesson, especially as you're listening, students and listening, and faculty and staff as well, and primarily students. Sometimes it's hard. There are a lot of things that they face, and especially COVID has made it even more challenging, and the tendency may be to give up, but to think about that it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. So thank you for that lesson. I appreciate that, Senator. Ms. Flanagan.
I think Senator Hackberry had a much better plan than I did growing up, because I don't think I had a plan that was that well thought out. I think the things I would tell myself, I actually wrote them down because I had to think about it a lot. I would say be open, because where I am today is so not what I thought I would be doing when I was younger. I'm in a completely, it never occurred to me, although in hindsight, I was offered an internship in college to work up here on the Hill, but I didn't accept it. So I would say be very open to opportunities, and I think where I ended up is so much greater than where I thought I would be, and I hope I'm not finished yet. Another thing would be there are no do-overs. I kept thinking I'm young, I can go back and do that. I can do that later. Grab it while you can, because there are no do-overs, whether that's, work-related, study-related, or even fun-related. There have been some great things that I've gotten to do over the years, but there's some things I missed out on. Choose who you surround yourself with carefully and very intentionally. On that one, I'd say steel sharpens steel. I am very blessed to have a group of women that I am surrounded with, that we all work and if you don't understand, I lobby for nonprofits. We all work in that nonprofit realm, but very strong, very challenging women who push me to always do well, push me sometimes really hard where I want to push back pretty hard too. And the last part would be compounding interest. I was thinking about that. Compounding interest is really great for your investments and really bad for debt. But I think that applies to also your relationships. I mean, there's so many friendships that when you put into them, they compound and they just grow as you get older. So those are my thoughts.
Wonderful, wonderful, absolutely. A lot of lessons. I'm taking notes, and hopefully the students in the audience are taking notes as well on these nuggets, pieces of advice that you can use to guide your lives. This is wonderful information. I'm wondering, with all of the great advice that you now have to give, and that you have learned all these lessons along your lives, it's obvious that you have, as Dr. Hall said, defied some odds. I want to talk, Ms. Pirtle talked about the gender differences, and she made some comments about that some of our men on the call might say, well, I don't know, but this is a women's history panel, and so we're celebrating women. And so let's talk about more about those gender barriers and obstacles, because some people may not even be aware that they exist. I don't know where these people have been in their lives, but there are barriers that exist. So we're a higher ed institution, so of course we have to bring a little research to the conversation. A 2018 Pew Research Center survey found that a majority of Americans say that they would like to see more women in leadership roles, in top leadership roles, both in politics and in the corporate world. But most said that men still have an easier path to the top and that women have to do more to prove their worth. Miss Pearl, I'm going to start with you because you started the conversation more in depth about those gender barriers. So tell us as an entrepreneur, have you found this to be true? I think your answer is going to be yes, but could you elaborate a little bit more?
I think it's absolutely true. Um, I have always been out here and very involved in many things. I've been in the Rotarians. I've been VP and W. I've been hot wing. I'm just a very involved person, and so in watching that, I can remember nearly getting blackballed as a Rotarian because I was one of the top 3 ladies to be a Rotarian in the state of Mississippi. And I can remember a gentleman coming to me and saying, I saved you from being blackballed. I was the publisher of the newspaper at that time. I was working 70, 80 hours a week, working hard. And it was hard for me to even believe that, sitting here thinking, because the gentleman that the company that I was working for was ran by all men on the top level, but they literally had one payment scale, and it was you produce and you make it. So that was kind of tough for me in that. So once I got into that club, I call it a club, you may have 250 members and 10 people working. Well, guess who did a lot of the work? The ladies on the bottom. We did a lot of the work. So in saying that, I think things have changed over the years. To a small portion, they've changed. I think we still have a lot to do. And I think we as women, we are the key in saying that, because we have to respect other women. And sometimes we're harder on each other than we are on maybe a male counterpart. And I just think that we are the changing pieces, not the gentlemen out there that are in those roles. I think we are the changing pieces as women.
Yes. Well, that's fascinating. I think especially that's a whole other show, I guess you could say. We talk about women and how we treat each other. Stay tuned for another women's history program in 2022 to talk about that. I want to talk that's a good bridge to our conversation about our first woman vice president. And we could look at some of the media stories about her and maybe some of the things that she has been judged on that maybe we would not see that with a male. And I'm like to hear from Senator Hackberry and Ms. Flanagan and Dr. Hall, because all 3 of you are political or public policy leaders. And with this historic moment with our first vice president being a woman, talk to us about what it's like for you as a woman navigating the political landscape. Let's start with Senator Hackberry.
Okay, I was gonna say I can start. Listen, this is definitely a male-dominated world, right? And I think having someone like Senator Harris rise to being our first female vice president was so awesome. Like, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have a little picture of her and the president, and then I think I have another one of her over there. Like, I firmly believe you can't be what you can't see. And for all the women and little girls out there who get to see a woman as our vice president, and a woman of color no less, it's so encouraging and inspiring. In my field, I was fortunate. I was blessed to have some strong women around me. First of all, my mom was a strong woman, so I got that from John. My granny was a strong woman, so I knew the power of a strong woman. But also understanding, I mean, like, when I first got here, I was called sweetie, and They thought I was an intern, and I'm like, I didn't have all this gray hair, so I guess I looked a bit younger, but now they've worn me out. So, but definitely something you had to kind of move through. For me, I've always felt like I'm just going to surprise you. One, I'm going to operate in excellence. Two, I'm going to surprise you and do some things you don't expect me to do. Like I might show up at the cigar bar. You guys want to have your little boy time? Well, I'm going to show up too. Let's see what's going on, and I think that surprises people. And I think also just when you know what you're talking about, you might have to deal with all sorts of foolishness and gender stereotypes, and it's hard, but you have to push through it because I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not going to be relegated to the kids' table. So, but you have to. I have a tribe of women that lift me up and say, you know what, it's okay. I'm like, I can't believe this happened, and also I put up some pretty strong professional walls. I think I don't know how to explain it, but I've noticed it because certain lines have not been crossed because I won't even go there. Like when I can tell that's what's being suggested or something like that, my professional wall is so tight, it's like you couldn't get across that border. So and again, like I said, having strong women around me has always been helpful. But we got to stick together. Seeing the scrutiny that Senator or Vice President Harris had to go through, how they were picking apart her relationships and trying to suggest that her political rise was due to a relationship with another elected official. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? And I think that in every profession, you have to kind of go through that. But keep moving forward and don't take it personal. Just know that it's more about them and less about you. And I mean, in the legislature, it's particularly bad. I mean, we now have required sexual harassment training I'm laughing because it's like a 30-minute slideshow, but it was due to a situation with a member, and I was actually on the committee to investigate him, where it was just untold, unheard of, just ridiculousness. It's a interesting mix of power or perceived power, and then not being in this circumstance before. And you have a bunch of people who tell you yes all the time, and so I think that kind of goes to people's head, and they kind of lose their mind a little bit. But keep moving forward and just be encouraged. Your place is your place, and just continue to force room for yourself. And again, I think the vice president has done that for all of us, because now, just like with Barack Obama when he was elected president, there are certain things. We're not going to say that we're in a post-sexist world, we're not in a post-racial world, but at least some barriers have been crossed that some of us never felt would be crossed in our lifetime. So.
That's right. And I think when you just mentioned about a seat at the table, when you're at the table, know that you belong at the table. I think some women have what's it called, imposter syndrome, that do I belong here? Absolutely, you belong there. And I think as women, we tend, probably maybe we're the only ones questioning our worth and whether we belong there. I don't know that men do that. Maybe they do. I'm not a man to be able to say that or not, but I know I've experienced that as well. Do I belong here? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, let me tell you something to that point. I had a representative. He happened to be we were out of town, and I was on a panel, and he came up to me and he was like, "Wow, you are surprisingly well spoken." And I thought, do you know how many hoops I had to jump through to get here? And your mediocre self just walked up to the table. I mean, how many degrees I have, the experience I've done. You better get away from me. I just looked at him and said, "So are you."
He thought that was a compliment. As they say here, I've learned more being in the South. Bless his heart. Miss Flanagan, your experience.
Well, Senator Hackberry brings back some bad memories, because I have been a lobbyist on the Hill long enough to remember some of those investigations. And fortunately, she never wrote my name in there. I was very blessed not to be in the midst of some of that, but certainly saw it and lived it. So, and have been in meetings where it was expected I would bring the coffee or whatever. And, I did it. And then it's great when you just zap them on the back end and they go, "Oh, wait a minute." She's the one that's got the knowledge, and she's the one doing the deal. So, I think it's really, I've seen a lot of improvements, but there sure is a long way to go. I was with my soon to be 4-year-old niece. She'll be 4 on Monday. And you know, her parents are raising her to really understand that she's equal to her brother in all ways. And I think that's wonderful. Sometimes we have different talents, we have different strengths. Women think differently from men, but I think that's an asset, not a negative. But working with men that understand that, and there are a lot of times when I have to stop and think about, you know, I approached it this way, he approached it that way, and maybe then we can meet in the middle and have that discussion. But I think it's pretty exciting what's going on in the world today, and I hope that it just continues.
That's right. That's right. We're moving in a good direction. You talked about his way or your way, and there's no right way, right? And sometimes we look at maybe men and say maybe we model our way after a man, and that is then devaluing your role and devaluing your experiences and all the journey that you've already talked about, or that we all have. Your role, you have experiences that have guided you to make decisions, and there's not his way is the right way. And sometimes we look at that sometimes, even if we compare ourselves with other people, we don't value who we are. Dr. Hall.
I just wanted to add, I think all the comments, I would echo everything from Senator Hackberry to Beth. But I think what we as women have to remind ourselves is that we can't stop. You know, I've been in situations where I've gone out and I'm the director or I am the lead on a project, and I've literally had people, you know, after presenting the topic, they'll say, well, now who's the boss in charge? Because they don't believe it to be me. I think as women, we have to just, you know, you don't have to accept it, but you still have to keep moving. You still have to persist. You still have to let people know what your skill sets are. You still are required to give your best. And that's all that, you know, in terms of my lifestyle, that has really driven me. I never stop giving my best, regardless of what they think, regardless of what's said or assumed. As a woman and as a leader, I still owe it to myself to give my very best and not to allow what others think or dictate to shape who I am. And I think it does happen over time. I think in my 20s and 30s, I was still trying to, you know, seek that validation. And when I was relegated to an administrative role, I would work through that. So when Beth said she had to serve the coffee, it took me back to that place. But in this space in my life, those are things that I would not allow. And it's because I've just continued to persevere. So I encourage particularly the students on this conference call to not give up, not stop, just to continue to persevere regardless of what they say. You still have an obligation to yourself to keep going.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very good information and very good advice. Looking at some of the comments, and there's so many of them that are saying wonderful things about the lessons that you all are teaching today and talking about your impact. And I appreciate the women who make an impact in our city of Memphis, and they're naming individuals, but also collectively. It's overwhelming that the information that you are delivering today is impactful, and that's wonderful. One question, or I guess a comment about when we're talking about gender, that women tend to say I'm sorry more. So before we bring our, you know, opinion, we may say, well, I'm sorry. What do you think about that? Do you tend to see that happening? It's like we have to preface a comment with I'm sorry. I remember in a leadership seminar I attended, it talked about women and how we sometimes start with our comment. We may say, I might be wrong, but it's like I'm going to give myself that cover. I may be wrong. Maybe it's just me, or I believe, or I think, as opposed to this is what it is. So tell me, have you experienced that in your own communication, where you feel as though you have to preface your remarks with a apology or kind of some cover, just in case the room does not appreciate what you have said? Have you experienced that?
I will say for me, yes, I have experienced. I've done it myself because, like I said, I am a strong woman, and I do know that. I try to be polite in saying that, but I was just sitting here while you were thinking. I was thinking about my staff that I have right now at Feeling Memphis, and I have a young girl that's 23 that's in college. And then I have a lady that's in her 60s, a year or two older than me, because I'll be 64 this year. So And the difference between the two individuals, it's, I'm the strong lady over here that works. I'm just a workhorse. That's what I am and always have been. And I hope to God I never change. And then I have this young girl that knows everything. And she is so smart and so bright and still learning. And I let her know that I'm learning from her and she's learning from me. And then I have another one that doubts herself a lot more. And I hear her say that, I'm sorry. And I immediately, as a woman, say, no, you're just learning differently, sweetheart. You're just learning differently. So all of us know that even if we're taking tests as a student or whatever, I can take a test today where when I was sitting where these students are, I couldn't take one when I was in college. But today I'm not intimidated by it. So if I had anything to tell young ladies, gentlemen, whatever, is try to find that little piece in there that intimidates you to a point of someone being your superior or older than you. Try to find that piece where you join together and you truly learn from each other. And visualize that strong teacher as your best friend and try to get in there and communicate. You can communicate. You just have to find the grounds of communicating and find how you particularly take it forward.
That's right. I really am intrigued by your comment about the difference in the age and the younger women feeling less or maybe more doubtful of their experiences, and that the panel, the peer survey rather, mentioned that younger women 18 to 49 were less satisfied than older women over 50 with the number of female leaders, and see gender discrimination as a major obstacle to reaching top positions. So what do we need to do as a society to address this concern? If younger women are seeing less opportunity or gender discrimination will be in their way, it will prevent them from moving forward. I mean, that will have great impact on future generations of leaders if younger women are feeling like that's a barrier. And you all have talked about knocking down barriers, defying obstacles. What do we have to do more of so that women don't feel that way, younger women?
Well, Dr. Hall, I think one of the key nuggets in this is creating opportunities such as this to encourage young women, one, by telling our stories, to say that I've been through the exact same thing and I've made it. So they need to hear that. But then also creating opportunities. What I've really worked hard on is encouraging women, and Senator Hackberry said this, you got to go back and get your education. You got to complete your education. Yes, we are just as skilled and gifted at managing, but we've got to persevere and get our education. We've got to get our credentials so that we can get our opening in the door. And for those of us in leadership, we're charged with creating those openings for young women and serving not just in our professional role, but in our nonprofit and our community. We have to continue to lift women up and continue to encourage them. And I love Ms. Pirtle's, she's observing her staff. She's not just saying, oh, I've got staff working. She understands where each person is psychologically and in their own space. And so I think we all are charged with doing it. And so I commend you and your leadership team for pulling together this kind of opportunity. We don't know who in this forum is being helped, but these are the kinds of things that we must do. And creating those opportunities are just, we got to do that.
That's right. We absolutely have to. A comment along the lines, Dr. Hall, you talked about completing your education. There was a comment that says women are constantly judged on their resume and men are judged on their potential. And I would agree with that. And so when you're saying complete your education, it's necessary. And a lot of times I know I found some examples in my own life in which I didn't feel as though anyone took me under their wing. That was not always the case, but in some cases, no one saw my potential. I had to have everything on my resume. And if it did not appear on my resume, then I wasn't quite ready. And that's what we tend to tell people a lot. Well, I don't see this on your resume, but then you see other people that is not on their resume, but they see the potential in them. And so I think that is along the lines with what you're saying. That's our reality. And so complete your education. Don't give anyone an opportunity to say you don't have the credentials. Have the credentials. Absolutely. Let's go to another question from the audience. Well, there's a comment, do not apologize, ask for forgiveness, not permission. There's a question, did you ladies find yourselves having to give yourself a talk to keep fighting, your own pep talk? Pep talk. I see you shaking your head.
Always.
Ms. Flanagan, talk about that.
Well, sometimes you're giving the pep talk to yourself. Sometimes you're getting your girlfriend to give it to you. Okay. Your mother. I have a very strong mother as well. She's lovely. But yes, always, always.
You have to encourage yourself. Yes.
You do.
Dr. Hall. That's how you shaking your head.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Those days when you're asked to serve the coffee, you got to self-talk, you got to take yourself in the scene and say, okay, did he just ask me to do that? What in the world? Or when they ask you, are you the boss? Yeah, you got to step aside and do a self-check and remind yourself of your worth. No, that's not your role. Yes, you're credentialed. Yes, you're qualified. So that pep talk you have to give yourself every day. And I do believe, as Beth said, you've got to leverage your network. And when you're having those days where you're challenged, lean on your sisters and your mentors and say, hey, I've just hit a rough spot and I need to be encouraged. So I totally agree. Every day.
Yeah, ditto. I love Grey's Anatomy. It's one of my favorite shows. And they talk about doing the Superwoman pose. Get yourself ready. And there's science behind it too that talks about like just the strength and the enrichment and encouragement in doing that. But for me, it's all about who you talk to, like your friends, your tribe, your family. Makes a big difference. The women who serve in the legislature with me, one of the ones I'm closest to, besides Representative Barbara Cooper, is Minority Leader Karen Camper. And it's like we can just, we sit in these rooms where we'll have these meetings and we'll talk about creating, anything. And the men at the table will just be blustering and no, they're not going to do a thing. They're not going to lift a finger. And then they look at me like, okay, well now baby rep, which is still a nickname I've been called. And I'm like, I'm a full-fledged senator. Now, did you get that? Were you taking notes? Can you send that to the group? And I'm like, I'm taking notes for me, but I'll send it to you. But yeah, you gotta, you do have to encourage yourself. And also I think underestimate me all you want to. That's good because I'll come out of nowhere and knock your socks off. And that's kind of my favorite thing to do. You can underestimate it all you want to, but and I tell myself that. And of course, every time before I speak on committee or on the floor, especially if it's something controversial, because I don't prepare remarks. I just kind of go off from the heart and the head. And I always say, Lord, please guide my lips, please guide my words, because these situations are tense. These situations are tense, and you want to be effective without being offensive. So come in, and so that's what I do. So
I'm going to add to that because I think it's, for me, I don't know if you know, but I get up at 4 a.m. on days I'm here, and I drive up, and I make sure I do a sermon on the way or whatever that positive push is that gets me in the right mindset for the rest of that day. So not every senator is as easy to work with as Senator Hackberry.
Yes. Well, I see Senator Hackberry is working. Even now, she's multitasking. And I think that's a good segue into talking about kind of having it all and how do you multitask? I mean, you're working and you're having meetings and even now, and we have so many responsibilities. Women take on several critical roles inside and outside of the home. And so how do you juggle those multiple roles and identities? Ms. Flanagan, Dr. Hall, let's talk about that. We talked about a little bit that kind of superwoman syndrome. How do you juggle? How do you handle it? Dr. Hall, you want to start first?
So, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a professional public servant. I'm married to my husband. Ms. Purtle was saying her wonderful husband. I think I got the best one too. Married, 26 years. He happens to be bivocational, so he's he works at the University of Memphis, but he's also a preacher. So I also have that hat of being a servant leader in the faith-based community. We are gifted, ladies. We are truly gifted. If no one else can do the job, we can do it. We are gifted at multitasking, juggling multiple things at once. I think that we have to remind ourselves of just that gift that we bring to the table. I used to shun myself or talk to myself negatively about my ability to manage as an administrator. But that is a gift. If you are able to juggle multiple tasks, priorities, and execute and get them done, you're running circles. And I think Dr. Hall said that earlier in this conference. We run circles around men. We can do multiple things at one time and do them successfully. And so I no longer look at my administrative functions as that. I look at them as leadership charges. Those are things that I've been able to do and execute. And I've raised my children to think the same way. We're smart, we're brilliant, we're talented, and we can manage multiple tasks at any given time. So I see it as a gift, and we need to self-talk, give ourselves that self-talk, that we're gifted folk, and God made us that way. So we can't change that and stop apologizing for it.
I think that's where men compartmentalize and women do not. And it's a gift that we have, but it can also be damaging to us sometimes in that business realm, because men do compartmentalize, they do it, and then they walk away and they move on to the next thing. We don't, but I think that's our gift and why we're so good at juggling so many items. I think for all of us, you have to decide what is your number one priority, what shoots to the top of the list. And I think probably for all the ladies on this panel, we would say family first. Always, always, always. I have the best husband ever. I tell him that every day. I get coffee in bed every morning, just so you know. And I told him yesterday, I said, that's kind of like, even though you may have left before I get it and it may be ice cold, it's still the I love you message every morning. The other thing that's been really helpful in my world is being very open with my spouse. And so we call it our porch download. If the weather's pretty, we sit on the porch and do that download. But what that does is he understands what's happening in my day. I know what happened in his day. And when I come back to him and say, honey, I can't go to dinner tonight, I have a call at 6 o'clock with the chairman, he gets it. He knows why. And so it's just that communication piece is critical in how you juggle. But yes, we do run circles around those men. It's awesome.
And we are able to do it so adeptly. I mean, I think one of the things is that we make it look easy. And we make it look so easy, sometimes people don't come to our aid because we look like we have it. We have it all together. So let's talk about this support system, because sometimes we want to hang up the cape. I think I won an award or something, a Superwoman award, and I do in my office, I have the cape and it's hung up. Every now and again, I'll have it. I'll put it around my neck and kind of fly around campus. People don't really see me doing that, but I do it. Just do know that. But that Superwoman syndrome, it can be taxing on us. So let's talk, Senator, you talked about your squad and your tribe. And before you move and telling us about your tribe and what that does for you, I want to say I have the best husband. I just want to put that on record. Almost 35 years. I need to say I have the best husband. But, I understand you all think that yours are great as well. They're fine. I have the best husband. So let's carry on. Senator, talk about
I can affirmatively say I lose that because I don't have a husband. So there you go. I'll let you ladies battle that one out.
But I have the best one, right?
I do love your husband.
See there?
Even in this, we're in jest, it's showing that you can be strong women and still value men.
Yeah.
Right. So there's not a battle of the sexes. It's a respect. It's a respect there. And so we all are very strong women, and you accomplished. And those of you who are married, you're saying still I have that support, and I have in friendship in my spouse. I think Dr. Hall put in the chat that Beth, Ms. Flanagan, you're winning the battle, maybe because you have the coffee that's brought to you. So that maybe you might be a little bit of an edge. I have to talk to my husband about this I don't even drink coffee, but maybe I need to start. Senator, let's talk about your squad and your tribe, and as we talk about our support systems and maybe family, and you've talked about Senator Cooper and mentorship and all of that. Let's talk about, as a Representative Cooper, let's talk about what your friends, your support systems, and how do you lean on your support? Because even though we are able to multitask, we get tired. We are human beings, and so tell me about your tribe.
For sure. If it's not physically exhausting, it is mentally exhausting or emotionally exhausting. So you definitely have to be you have to get that refill. I have multiple ones, right? So I have some that are actually in the political world. I have friends who are in other elected office in different states. And so they get, or here, and they get exactly what's going on. They get it 100%. Some of them are older, call them an old lady gang. I'm 36 and they're probably like approaching 70, some of them. But they are pioneers and they know what's up, and I love their guidance and their friendship. Then I have my friends from college. Those are the ones I have to mute because they will say things in committee and I will laugh out loud and it's a real problem. Those are the ones that keep me they remember when I was in college wearing, flip-flops and SpongeBob pajamas. So like they understand that one. Then of course I have a twin, and so that's a built-in best friend, and she keeps me more humble than anyone. But she supports me and loves me no matter what, and she's my secret weapon to a certain extent. And of course family. And then I have a group of women who understand politics but are not connected to they're not actually elected officials, so they really help. Like when I decided to run for Senate, I pulled together all these different people and I'm like, what do y'all think? Let's see what y'all think about all this. But it's affirming, right? Like you can be yourself. You can have your coattail pulled like, hey, no, that's not what you want to do, or, I know you thought that was brilliant, but it really wasn't. And they say it with love. You trust them enough to know, or they're like, go on, girl. Like I love that I saw you on the news. I love what you did, or that makeup, I love that. So I think it's helpful. It lifts you up and builds you up, and you're ready to go fight another day, because it is stressful and it is crazy, and we have to be so serious sometimes in our positions. But when you can just let your hair down literally and have a cocktail with some of your favorites, especially if you have a friend who's a mixologist, I mean that really that goes a long way. That goes a long way. And Dr. Hall, you'll appreciate this, but recently so that helps a lot too. Being a new member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, definitely that's something that I've already been lifted up by them through everything. When we have our own little group chat, and they're chatting right now, somebody even shared this flyer in the group. So love it, love it, love it, and cannot. And I know some people are like, I can't be friends with women. That's why I'm not friends with women. And I'm like, you are missing out. Okay, you mean you can't be friends with yourself? Come on. I mean, I have a range of folks. I have guys that I'm friends with too, but like, I don't know. And I'm gonna stop rambling, but I cannot overstate the value of having a good group of women to hold you up and support you. Behind every strong woman is a tribe of women that have her back. That's one of my favorite little statements, and I believe it to be true. So.
Yes, and I think that's so important to state that, Senator, that we have to change the narrative about women supporting women. I think we've allowed that narrative to be the story that we tell, that women don't work well together, we don't get along, or we see examples of women not getting along and we use that as the rule. That's not the case. And you're right, having a strong support group, it's family, and we talked about our husbands, our sororities. I too am a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And it's no accident, maybe, or maybe it's not intentional that two of the women panelists are a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And if we're talking about best husbands, of course, I'm going to say it's the best sorority ever. I will acknowledge that there are other sisterhoods that are in existence as well, in any form, whether it's from a Greek perspective or any other kind of social perspective. That importance of coming together and having that support system, because we do try to do it all, and we can. And as we talked about, we can multitask really well, but the importance of taking care of yourself and having that squad to be able to talk to, and they're honest with you. One of the members of my squad, my husband, he was on here earlier, but one of my best friend from 80 whatever, I'm not going to tell you all my business, is on this call, even though she's a busy bank executive in Virginia. She's taken time to support her old-time friend, long-time friend from college days. I know she has my back, and she's honest. And won't steer me in the wrong direction. If I'm going in the wrong direction, she will pull my and everything. So the squad and the support is critical. Miss Purtle, your squad, your tribe.
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm totally all in for a squad now. Like I told you before, I love people. I'm glad you guys got on the bandwagon with the husband thing, because that's a good place to be. Because I do get coffee in bed every day too. Okay, and we sit on that balcony and we have tea together in the afternoons, or have a drink together in the afternoons, because he's my partner, and the partner that has my back. Okay, and everything. If I wake up one morning, and this has happened to me here in the last 2 months, especially with COVID in our area right now, because I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and I don't know, Corey, I guess is 28 or 30 years old, and he and I had lunch together. And I love to surround myself with people that are not my age. I tell people all the time that they're too old to hang with me, my friends that are my age. They'll say, hey, I want to come do with you. And I said, I'm sorry, you're too old to hang with me. I hang with younger people because it keeps me younger, and it keeps me balanced. It keeps me knowing what's going on. I have 15 grandchildren. I love those kids, love them to death. I watch them, and I try to listen to them. I try my best to listen to them and not over talk them all the time. But I have a best friend that's been I met her on Main Street one day outside of a restaurant, and we've been best friends for 10 years now. And Thursday night is our night. And that is our night to look at each other. And we bring other girls in with us sometimes. But downtown is where I live. And downtown has this energy about it that, gosh, do we have gobs of friends. Ramesh's mom is my good friend too. So, and her dad loves me too though. But when you start taking this group of people that you have, you learn so much from them. They help you get up the next day sometimes. That day that you want to pull that cover up over your head and just have a good cry. Well, ladies, let me tell you, have the good cry, get it over, go on about your business, and then you'll get up from it and it'll be all done. And your husband will say, well, I'm finished. I'm gone to work. I'm done. I got this now. I just needed to get something out of my system. So I think you got to have friends. I think COVID has put a lot of people in their houses, and we're going to see that people have to have connection with people. We have to look at you in your face. I'm a hugger, and I have missed my hugs more than anything in the whole world this last year.
Yes.
And don't side hug me. Give me a hug.
You want a
okay,
real
that's just who I am. So that's just so yeah, we've got to do this. And Ramesh owes me a drink. Just saying. I'm just telling her up front. Okay.
Well, she has friends who are mixologists, so I think you're gonna be all right.
I probably know those buddies.
Well, there are a lot of comments coming in that are giving kudos and really getting a lot of great information from this panel. I have one question that I'll take from one of the chat, and then I'll ask you ladies if you can start kind of thinking about your last advice, your pieces of advice you would give to our students and to our faculty and staff and community members. But let's just take this one question, and it's along the lines of talking about support. And I think it's one that is interesting. How do you select your tribe, especially when you have experienced betrayal in the past from for example, the church, or so how do you select your tribe? That's a good question. Thank you. Who wants to start that? I'll ask Dr. Hall, because she specifically said from the church, and you mentioned about your husband being bivocational. So maybe you can talk about that.
Well, I would just say that you have to rely on your tribe, but as women, we have to guard how much we share. I think sometimes we confuse the tribe to be our personal journal. And so I've always cautioned women to, one, first of all, know who you are. Because when you're sharing with your tribe, you can unintentionally allow too many people indoors. So, sound off, use your tribe as a sounding board, but still stay true to yourself. So, my advice is just to be a little guarded with how much you share. Seek the advice of others, but don't allow it to, I guess, then change how you think about yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much. We are coming close to the end of time, so let's just do a quick lightning round with our panel. Just one piece of advice that you would give to the listeners today about leadership and success.
I'll join in there. What I will tell you guys is be yourself. Whatever it is that's deep down in your soul, pull it out and find it and go forward with it. If it's your path is your path. Your age is your age. You can never change this. Right now, you can do more than you'll ever be able to do. So go climb that mountain because you can't climb it when you get 64, sweetheart. I can't walk the mountain like you can anymore. So go do your traveling. If you have to go by yourself and pick you up another buddy along the way, you do that. Be friendly, be open, and enjoy your life. Put a smile on your face. If that smile has got to be behind your mask, let me see it in your eyes. It's okay. Be a good person, and it's going to reflect back, and it comes right back to you. So I don't care if you are at a Jack Purtle's drive-in. When you get up to my window, you look at that person and you smile in your eyes or put a smile on there. Nothing is that serious, okay? So just be good to everybody. It comes back to you and it'll make you a better person and it'll make you succeed all at the same time.
Wonderful. Going
Thank
back,
you guys. It's been a wonderful day.
Back to your childhood, being a good person. You're ending where you began. Thank you. Senator, your one piece of advice.
I would say don't get discouraged along the way. I have a friend who was a state representative. He was one of the youngest state representatives in the country, decided to run for state senator, literally got the brakes beat off of him. But he didn't get discouraged, and now he's one of the youngest lieutenant governors in the country. So don't get discouraged. Sometimes rejection is protection. So keep moving forward. Just don't let anything or anyone tell you or define what you can be and what you can do. And sometimes it might not be the right thing at that moment, but certainly keep moving forward and keep God first and give out love, and it'll come back to you.
Man, Miss Flanagan.
Well, everyone has said it, but it's be genuine to yourself. And my other one would be, so I'm not going to repeat all those things that were said because they're beautiful, but my other one would be flexible. I actually keep a slinky on my desk always. I tell people if you hear me playing with it, it's probably not a good time. You should call back. It means I'm trying to remind myself to be flexible. But I think that, you're going to grow. So just be flexible and go with it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Dr. Hall.
Don't compare yourself to others. God has already ordained your path. Your destiny is already preset. You got to be your own self. To that own self be true.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, everyone, I told you that this would be an insightful conversation, and that it has been. I want to really thank all of our guests, and I'm just going to run down really quickly all of the lessons, students, that you can take away from this. So if you have a pen and paper, try to jot it down, and it's just really brief. The importance of mentorship, being a good human being, having a personal mission, defying the odds, set high expectations, be open to opportunities, choose whom you surround yourself with. You can't be what you can't see. Complete your education, have a strong support system, be yourself, enjoy your life, don't get discouraged. Keep God first. Don't compare yourself to others. Now, listen, you can't get that in a whole semester. You can't get that in a whole semester, and you got that in an hour or so. So, hopefully, you've enjoyed this panel discussion and you've heard her stories from our local Memphis legends. These women have broken barriers, they've had successful journeys and obstacles, but as the saying goes, nevertheless, she persisted. So please join me in giving a virtual round of applause to our esteemed panelists, the honorable Romantic Hackberry,
in the house.
Miss Beth Wall Flanagan, Dr. Lasagna Harris Hall, and Miss Tawanda Todd Purtle. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us today, and thank you to everyone who attended and participated in this celebration of women.
Our honor.
Thank you. Miss Boylan, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. This has been amazing. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Before we leave, I did want to give a little information to some of our female students on resources that we have for you all here at the college. One is we do have a student club organization called WOW, and that stands for Women of Worth. It is a student organization that's all about empowering women. If you're interested in joining that club, you can email Miss Valletta Brinson, and I will type the email in the chat so you can come back and get that email. And then also we have the Moms Achievement Center, and that's a program that we have to provide extra layers of support to our single female students who we know how hard it is when you're trying to go to school and you have children. So we have a program here to offer you some layers of support through our counseling and social services. And I will also put the email for their office as well. And you can contact both of these programs if you're interested. Thank you, everybody. This has been amazing. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And please have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.